16-year-old Jayden Cole had started. His Saturday with nothing more dramatic on his mind than finding the perfect birthday present for his little sister. Lila, the Riverside Mall, was alive with weekend noise. Families lining up at the smoothie bar, teenagers clustering around arcade machines, the smell of pretzels drifting through the air. Jayden moved through it with a calm, thoughtful purpose. His backpack hanging from one shoulder, his headphones tucked around his neck, a soft smile on his face as he thumbed through racks of pastel hoodies. He finally found it. A light pink hoodie with embroidered butterflies across the chest, exactly the kind Lila had been begging for. He lifted it up, stepped under the fluorescent lights, and snapped a picture. Jayden, Mom. Think she'll like this? Seconds later, another message lit up beneath it from a contact labeled AC. His dad, Jayden Cole, on my way. Be safe, son. Jayden smiled, relieved. His dad was usually late, usually busy, usually caught up in work that Jayden didn't fully understand. Something federal, something important. But today felt simple, normal. A perfect gift, a perfect surprise, a perfect weekend. He carried the hoodie to the counter where Emily Carter, a cheerful 20-year-old cashier, greeted him with a kind familiarity. That'll be 50 through, as she chirped, scanning the barcode. Jayden slid his debit card into the reader. The machine beeped. Emily bagged the hoodie and matching scarf and tucked the crisp receipt neatly inside. Your sister's gonna freak out when she sees this, she said with a grin. This color sells out fast. Jayden thanked her, took the bag, and turned toward the exit, just as a shrill alarm exploded 3 stores away. Head snapped toward the electronics outlet. Customers paused mid-step. Security radios crackled. An urgent voice from Mall Guard. Brian Keller reported a shoplifter fleeing with stolen tech. Description? Dispatch asked. Keller squinted down the crowded corridor. Black male, late teens, hoodie, backpack. It was the kind of description that meant absolutely nothing. A lazy blur of stereotypes, tossed out with blind confidence. But in that moment, that sentence became a fuse. Jayden, unaware of any of it, paused near a window display to glance at his phone again. Lila had messaged him. I'm excited. What color did you get? He started typing back, oblivious to the fact that Keller had already made a decision. A dangerous, thoughtless one. Of all the hundreds of teenagers in that wing of the mall, Jayden was the only black teen visible. He wore a hoodie. He had a backpack. That was enough. I have eyes on a possible suspect, Keller said into his radio. Miles away, squad car lights flickered to life. Officer Mark Reddick, tall, thick-necked, already irritated from his shift, slammed his car door, sirens kicking on. His partner, Officer Daniel Colella, followed behind as they sped toward the mall's south exit. Jayden walked out into the bright afternoon sun, blinking at the sudden light. The asphalt radiated heat. Cars rumbled past. A breeze lifted the corner of his shopping bag. His phone vibrated. Lila, tell me the color, please. He laughed softly, typing, You'll see. Hey, you! Stop right there! Jayden looked up, confused. Officer Reddick was storming toward him with a force that sent panic straight into Jayden's chest. Eyes sharp, hand already hovering over his gun. Colella followed, unsure but silent. Me? Jayden asked, voice small but steady. Don't move, Reddick barked, closing the distance like a predator closing in on prey. Jayden instinctively raised his hands, phone in one, shopping bag swinging gently in the other. Officer, I think there's been a mistake. I said don't move. Reddick grabbed Jayden's shoulder, spinning him, slamming him against a parked car. The metal was hot under Jayden's palms, burning into his skin. Jayden felt something shift inside him, confusion turning to fear. Empty your pockets. My pockets? But I literally just, now! His voice cracked like a whip, echoing across the lot. People turned. A couple stopped mid-stride. A kid lifted his phone. Jayden emptied his pockets. Wallet, keys, phone. Reddick snatched them and tossed them onto the hood roughly. What's in the bag? The officer demanded. A hoodie, a scarf, for my sister's birthday. I have the receipt. Before he could finish, Reddick ripped open the bag. The pink hoodie fell out, unfolding across the pavement. The matching scarf landed next to it. Reddick grabbed the receipt, looked at it for barely a second, then crumpled it, letting it fall like trash. Anyone can fake a receipt. Jayden stared in disbelief. What? No, I paid for that. Ask the cashier, Save it, Reddick sneered. Lying's in your blood. That sentence hit harder than the shove. By now, a small crowd had begun forming. Phones lifted. Whispers spread. A mother pulled her young daughter closer as they watched. Officer Colella checked Jayden's school ID. Mark, he's an honor student. Riverside High 4.0 MIT prep track. Reddick didn't care. Honor kids steal too. Jayden felt his throat tighten. He was shaking despite trying not to. Then Reddick grabbed Jayden's backpack, unzipped it aggressively, and dumped everything onto the ground. Textbooks, binders, papers. The wind caught several pages. One folder slid open, revealing a packet with a bold header. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Conditional Acceptance. Reddick picked it up, reading aloud mockingly. MIT? What did you do? Steal the acceptance letter too? A few people in the crowd snickered. Not many, but enough to leave a bruise on Jayden's spirit. That's mine, Jayden whispered, voice he barely recognized. I worked 4 years for that. Reddick tossed the folder aside, its pages scattered down the lot like pieces of Jayden's future blowing away. Just then, Emily burst through the mall doors, breathless, clutching her store iPad. Officers! Officers! Wait! That boy didn't steal anything. I just rang him up. Look, here. This is the transaction record. But Reddick dismissed her like she was invisible. Ma'am, step back. She tried again, louder this time, shaking. Please. He paid. I have the exact timestamp. He bought a hoodie for his little sister. Step back. He moved toward his weapon. Emily froze, eyes wide, fear overtaking her courage. She backed away, but she didn't leave, just hovered at the edge, trembling. Jayden caught her eye. Thank you, he whispered. She nodded, tears forming. Reddick's radio crackled. Unit 34. Suspect may be armed. Jayden's heart fell through the floor. Armed? I don't have anything. Nothing. Why would... Get on the ground! Reddick roared, drawing his gun. The crowd gasped. Someone screamed. Jayden dropped to his knees instantly, hands raised high, fingers trembling. Please don't shoot. Please! I'm not resisting! I don't have a weapon! Face down! Hands behind your head! Jayden laid on the burning asphalt, cheek pressed against gravel, the heat stinging his skin. He laced his fingers behind his head. He tried not to sob. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. Always come home safe, baby. Do everything they say. Hands visible. Yes, sir. No sudden moves. He was doing all of it. Every rule. Every lesson. But it didn't matter. Reddick dropped his knee into Jayden's back, all his weight crushing, suffocating. Jayden gasped. I can't breathe. Stop resisting, Reddick growled. I can't. Then stop talking. Jayden's vision blurred. The crowd shouted. No one stepped forward. His phone, inches from his face on the asphalt, buzzed again. Dad calling. The screen lit up with his father's name, over and over and over, while Jayden lay helpless, his future scattered across the pavement like abandoned trash. He didn't know it yet, but the next 45 minutes would change the city, and his life, forever. The Riverside police station smelled of burnt coffee, old paperwork, and stale authority. The kind of place where apologies rarely lived and truth often arrived too late. Jayden Cole stumbled through the front entrance with Officer Mark Reddick's iron grip still locked around his arm. His wrists throbbed from the too tight cuffs, his shoulders screamed with every movement, and his cheek burned from where the asphalt had scraped it raw. His mind floated somewhere between pain, fear, and disbelief. How could buying a hoodie end like this? Behind the front desk sat Officer Nicole Brandt, typing up a report. She looked up as Reddick dragged Jayden closer. Her eyes flickered from Jayden's bruised face to Reddick's tightened jaw. "Name?" she asked. "Jayden Alexander Cole," Jayden whispered. "But I need to call my parents." Reddick cut him off before the sentence could breathe. "Suspected retail theft from Riverside Mall," he snapped. Brant raised an eyebrow. "Age?" 16. "Any priors?" she asked, already running the search. "No record," she murmured, frowning at the clean file. "Honor student? No incidents." "First time for everything," Reddick muttered. Jayden clenched his jaw. "I didn't steal anything. I showed you the receipt." "Receipts can be faked," Reddick said without even looking at him. "Witnesses, too." Jayden's voice finally cracked. "So can cops." Reddick stiffened, anger flaring. He stepped forward, close enough for Jayden to smell stale coffee on his breath. "That's enough." A new voice cut through like a blade. Sergeant Howard Lane, older, tired-eyed, stepped between them. "Reddick, my office. Now." Reddick hesitated, jaw flexing, but Lane's tone wasn't up for debate. Reddick left, slamming the door behind him. "Officer Colella," Lane called. "Process him." Officer Daniel Colella approached, far gentler, unlocking Jayden's cuffs with a soft click. Jayden rubbed his red wrists, his fingers shaking. "Follow me," Colella said quietly. Jayden was led down a narrow hallway, its walls the color of old cement. A tiny interrogation room waited at the end, 10x10 feet, a metal table bolted down, a camera blinking a cold red in the corner. "Sit tight," Colella said, lingering for a moment. This will get sorted out." "When can I call my parents?" Jayden asked again. "Soon," Colella said softly. "I promise." The door shut, sealing Jayden inside. He sat down slowly. His shoulder pulsed, his cheek stung, his chest felt tight. But the worst pain, the one clawing deep inside, was humiliation, helplessness, the aching knowledge that doing everything right still hadn't been enough. He stared at the camera. "Is anyone watching this? I didn't do anything." The only reply was the blinking red light. The clock on the wall read 4:51 p.m. His dad got off work at 5 p.m. His family had no idea where he was. Outside, across the street, a black SUV with tinted windows sat silently, engine running. Inside were two federal agents. Special Agent Victoria Hale, sharp, disciplined, jaw set like granite. Special Agent Marcus Trent, broader, calm but tense. "We have visual," Hale said quietly. "Subject is inside." Trent checked his tablet. "Director Cole is 8 minutes out. He's seen the entire mall footage." Hale's throat tightened. "How bad?" "Bad," Trent said. "His son was slammed face first into concrete, knee on his back. The kid said he couldn't breathe." Hale exhaled sharply. "And the officer?" "Mark Reddick. 2 excessive force complaints last year, both dismissed." "Not this time," she murmured, "not with the director's son." "Orders are the same," Trent said. "We wait for Director Cole. He wants to handle it personally. If it escalates, we go in hard." 10 agents, she confirmed, standing by. In the interrogation room, Jayden rested his head on the cold metal table. He closed his eyes, exhausted. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "You're a black boy in America, baby. The rules are different. Be careful. Be polite. Come home safe." He'd done all of it. And he still ended up here. The door clicked open. Officer Colella returned, holding a clipboard. "Jayden, we pulled the mall security footage." Jayden lifted his head instantly. "You weren't anywhere near the electronics store during the theft. You were in a completely different wing." Jayden exhaled a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "So I can go." Colella hesitated. "Sergeant Lane wants to complete the full report first. Standard procedure." Jayden blinked. "Standard? You just said I'm innocent. You have proof." I know, but then why am I still here? Jayden demanded, voice rising. Colella swallowed. Look, I'm on your side, but it's not my call. When? Jayden asked sharply. Maybe an hour. Jayden let out a bitter laugh. An hour? I've already been here almost an hour. I was thrown to the ground in front of dozens of people. Your partner called me a criminal. He knelt on me while I couldn't breathe. My MIT papers are scattered across a parking lot. And you want me to sit here quietly for another hour? Colella looked genuinely pained. I'm sorry. Just please be patient. He left. Jayden sat alone, shaking. He wanted to scream, flip the table, punch the wall. But he couldn't, because the moment he did, he'd become the angry black teenager on camera. Evidence against him. Something twisted into a threat. So he forced himself to sit back down, forced his breath steady, forced himself not to break. Inside Sergeant Lane's office, Reddick stood ramrod straight, sweat forming at his temples. This doesn't look good, Lane said slowly. We responded to a description, Reddick barked. Black male, hoodie, backpack. That describes half the teenage boys in this county, Lane shot back. I made a judgment call. Well, your judgment call is trending on every social platform right now. Lane turned his monitor. Videos, hashtags, dozens of angles showing Reddick's knee on Jayden's back. Riverside Mall, Lane said. Justice for Jayden, 10,000 posts in an hour. So what? Reddick snapped. We did our job. Did we? Lane asked softly. You drew your weapon on an unarmed kid, ignored a receipt, dismissed a witness. Reddick scoffed. Kid will be fine. He's going to MIT. This'll be his wild college story. Lane's expression went cold. Get out of my office. Reddick opened his mouth. Get out. Outside, across the street, 6 minutes later. The SUV doors opened. 10 FBI agents stepped out at once. Dark navy windbreakers, guns holstered, faces set. Inside the station, Jayden lifted his head. He had no idea everything around him was about to explode. He didn't know that the FBI was about to take over the building. He didn't know that the man leading them, furious, unstoppable, was the same man who had been trying to call him over and over again. He didn't know that the next name he would hear would flip his world upside down. Because the front doors of the station were already swinging open. Because his father was already inside. Because the storm had arrived. The moment the Riverside police station doors flew open, chaos froze into silence as 10 FBI agents in Navy windbreakers flooded the lobby, their presence so commanding that even the officers behind the front desk seemed afraid to breathe. Officer Nicole Brandt stood instantly, unsure of what to say. But Special Agent Victoria Hale stepped forward with a badge held high and a voice that cut through the room like a blade, announcing that they were there for Jayden Alexander Cole. Shock rippled across the station as Sergeant Lane emerged, asking what was going on. But before anyone could steady themselves, Officer Reddick stepped forward trying to question federal authority, only to be met with cold, unwavering stares from the agents who knew exactly what he had done. 2 agents disappeared down the hallway and opened the interrogation room, where Jayden sat alone, terrified and bruised, telling him gently that he was safe now and escorting him back into a lobby that looked nothing like the place he had been dragged into earlier. Every officer stood stiff as the man at the center of the room turned toward Jayden, the tall figure in a dark suit, eyes sharp with fury and heartbreak, the man Jayden knew first as Dad, and everyone else now recognized as Director Jayden Cole of the FBI. Jayden's voice cracked as he whispered, "Dad?" before being pulled into a fierce embrace that lasted only a moment before Adrian turned to face the station, his voice calm but deadly as he announced his title and the fact that the boy they had treated like a criminal was his son. The room fell into a suffocating silence as he revealed he had watched every second of the mall footage, Reddick slamming his son against the car, dumping his books, mocking his MIT acceptance, ignoring the clerk with proof of purchase, drawing his weapon, kneeling on Jayden as he begged for air, and he played the footage for everyone to see, the audio of Jayden crying out echoing painfully through the lobby. Reddick tried to speak, but Adrian crushed every excuse, calling out the stereotype disguised as a description and the constitutional violations committed against a child who was doing absolutely nothing wrong. Adrian ordered the entire department placed under federal review, demanded every piece of footage be secured, and commanded Reddick to hand over his badge and weapon, ending his career then and there as surrounding officers watched in stunned silence. With a hand on Jayden's shoulder, Adrian finally said, "Let's go home," and they walked out together, leaving a building full of officers who suddenly understood the magnitude of what they had done. 2 weeks later, the Riverside Community Center overflowed with people. Neighbors, students, reporters, local leaders gathered for a public meeting where Mayor Evelyn Grant admitted the community had been forced to confront an ugly truth, and Director Jayden Cole detailed the reforms now being implemented. Mandatory quarterly bias training, a community oversight board with real authority, automatic body cam uploads, and a new partnership with the FBI for de-escalation training. When Jayden was invited to speak, he walked to the podium with no notes, looked out at faces young and old, and simply said, "I was just shopping. But they saw a threat. Don't let that happen to someone else's kid." And the room erupted into a standing ovation. Afterward, Officer Colella approached Jayden to apologize, admitting he felt something was wrong that day but didn't speak up. And Jayden told him gently that feeling uncomfortable was not the same as doing something, yet still shook his hand when Colella vowed to help change the system from inside. A teenage girl approached next, filming on her phone, asking what message he would give to kids who looked like him, and Jayden replied, "Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. You do. And when they try to make you small, stand tall anyway." A sentence she immediately promised to share with the world. Months passed. Changes finally took root. And one quiet afternoon, Jayden stood in his MIT dorm room unpacking boxes, pausing when he saw the same navy hoodie he'd worn the day everything went wrong. His new roommate asked where he got it, and Jayden smiled, saying softly, "Long story. Remind me to tell you about the day I learned the difference between power and justice, knowing that his pain had sparked change far beyond himself, and that some stories, even the hardest ones, shape the world more than anyone expects."